This program contains language that is intended for mature
or
immature audiences. Anyone affiliated with this train wreck of a show assumes no responsibility for its content. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to hide the kids and pop the top on a cold one. Coming to you from the extravagant studio at SAA Productions in Charleston, West Virginia, please welcome the inebriated cast of Section 304.
All right, welcome in everybody to Section 304, episode number 11. And as always, we're drinking beers, talking ears, and trying to enjoy our first win since September and the first victory in the Big 12 this season. I'm Anthony Lewis, and joining me today, Matt Durrett, John Crum, and producer Steve is here with us as always, keeping us in line. And on today's show, we'll talk about the Texas Tech game. Thought there was some improvements there. I personally did. But then we'll also discuss the upcoming game against Texas, and former offensive lineman and funny man, Terry Dixon, will be joining us on the show. He's been asking to come on. He listens every week, and excited to get him on the show. You know Terry. You've hung out with him before.
Yeah, I've met Terry a couple of times before.
He's I don't know if you've ever met him or not.
I have not.
He's a funny dude, man. So we're going to get into this Texas Tech game, which I was pleasantly surprised to see our defense show back up. Well, first, let me just tip my hat to the fans that showed up. I was shocked at the 54,000. I honestly didn't think we would even break 45,000 fans yesterday, the way people have literally jumped off.
We were minus about 3.
Yeah. Well.
Anyone care to say
you bastard.
who?
You bastard.
I wasn't able to go. I was able to go. I opted not to go. I just, honestly, I'm just fucking exhausted. I'm tired, man. I got a little girl I'm trying to raise and some businesses to run and work too. So I was pretty beat. And I just decided, since it was a noon game, to get some things done. And man, actually, I just enjoyed my day chilling out. Watched football from like noon till 9 last night, and I finally crashed out.
I was up at 5:30 ready to go. My ride called, which my ride was my parents, so I'm going to go ahead and throw my parents under the bus here. They called. My dad works midnights. He'd been on the midnight shift, and he apparently didn't get much sleep, so he was not in the mood to drive up or ride up. And by that time, everyone had already started their trek up 79, so your boy was left without a ride.
Stuck.
And there's not much you can do. So next week, I will be in the driver's seat, and I have got a car full of people who have committed to the ride up, and I will be back. I do apologize for missing the game. I don't like to miss those games. I think in about the past 10 years, I've missed maybe 3. That might be my 4th. Somebody can slide me a pass, right? It's not really my fault, Crum, you bastard. It's not really my fault. I was left rideless.
Well, maybe we're the bad luck charm, man. We've been going up, and they look like shit, and we don't go one week. And then
let's not go that far, because I'm not going to say that what you saw yesterday. I mean, while the run game looked good, let's not say we're the bad luck bandits in that fucking stadium, because that still wasn't a quality product.
Well, listen, and you say that, but you say that like all of a sudden they're going to come out. This is what you got. This is the team that you dealt with this year, and I'm not going to spend the next 54 minutes beating a dead horse. It is what it is. The good thing is it's not as bad as what everyone thought it was 2 weeks ago, but it's not as great as we'd like to see it be.
I think we need to start off with a tip of the cap to the defense.
Yes, let's
They played well. Holding Texas Tech under 200 yards passing is a pretty significant feat, in my opinion. And their quarterback's slippery. He's hard to get to, but he never looked comfortable, even when he was scrambling. He made some plays, but, I mean, we held a team that puts up a lot of numbers and a lot of points to 26 points and under 200 yards passing. I would like to know the last time they were held under 200 yards passing.
Well, I don't have that stat, but I'll tell you one thing. Texas Tech has slung numbers against everybody so far in the Big 12, even some of the big dogs. And to come in to Morgantown and basically I mean, even the points they got, we pretty much gave to them, I thought, yesterday.
Chestnut was out. They're banged up. I mean, they really, I think we hit rock bottom in Fort Worth, to be honest with y'all. And obviously, TCU's not as good as we thought. They got beat down pretty bad yesterday.
Oh, that was rough to watch.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where this team goes because we ran the ball effectively, but they also have the second worst rush defense in the country. And the quarterback play was the big, negative for me. I mean, and he had some drops. To be fair to him, the receivers had some drops, but he missed some open receivers. And I don't think we can beat Texas just by running the ball like we did yesterday.
Does it. I mean, he does that every week. But then again, when he does hit somebody on the numbers, they got to catch it.
Well, Kevin White's little brother looked like a man yesterday, too.
He was playing pretty well. I think they need to I don't know if you've ever seen the little giants, that stick 'em that they put on the little kids' hands. Durant may need some of that.
We were calling him on my group text Featherstone, the guy from Necessary Roughness.
And one thing that we talked about yesterday with the group that I was watching, I literally think there was something in the air on these balls. Texas Tech dropped 6 balls yesterday. Wide open balls.
Well, if you guys would have been in the stadium, you would have known it was a little windy down there. There was a little bit of wind whipping in from
one fucking game. Here it is. I'm taking a beating today. I don't like it. I'll be back.
But if you read the Gazette article, I don't know if you all did, how demoralized. No, earlier in the week, Gibson, I mean, those guys sounded completely demoralized. And for them to come out and stop Texas Tech like they did, I think that's a huge confidence booster.
Yeah, the D looked good. The run game, obviously, anytime you put 2 backs over 100 yards each, and they're both getting in the end zone, that's a positive. But the question that I have to have is, I mean, the coaching is still bad.
Well, and we'll wait, because there's a couple points that we'll bring up on that. But one thing I did notice, and we talked about the offense and the coaching, I thought yesterday, obviously you could run the football, but it seemed like the underneath route was back. We're throwing to the slot receiver again.
Yes. Schwartz and Thompson were in play.
I think maybe it looked like to me that they've sat back and re-examined some of this shit and said, listen, we've got to distribute this ball a little bit more equal. And it looked like a better product. I mean, now granted, you were moving the football by running it, but it looked like they were trying to distribute the ball, rolling Skylar out, or he was being chased down, one of the two. But it looked like a different product on the field than what we saw over the last couple of weeks.
Where was Shelton Gibson?
I think, if I'm remembering right, I think he only had 2 balls thrown his way.
Yeah, he had. If Howard hits him on the hands, he had a touchdown on that.
Yeah, I'm thinking he only had 2 balls thrown his way. A lot of the action was going towards Durant and Kevin White's brother. Karan had some catches, but Gibson only had a couple thrown his way. I'm not really sure where.
And even on that drop, granted, it wasn't a strike, but it painted the outside corner. He got his hands on it.
Talking about the ball he threw on his hip.
It was right here.
Way behind him. It was back. It was on his ass cheek.
It hit him right in the hands.
It hit him in his ass. That was nowhere near. That was a horrible throw.
Got both of his hands on it.
I was always taught if your hands touch it, you should catch it. Yeah.
But he reached him behind it and hit him in his ass.
Once again, I just said it wasn't a strike, but he painted the corner. You got to get out there. You got to catch it. I mean, it's, we could see. Listen, we could spend the next 50 minutes sitting here talking about bad. But listen, I think we're 10, 11 shows in. We've talked about this.
Yeah, we know what we got with Howard.
So, but he drops. I think he had another drop, or if he had a drop. But this guy seems like, and he did this last year. He had one drop against Alabama, just disappeared, and I don't know if he just. And I didn't get.
Well, he was. To be fair, he was behind Alford and White.
So. I don't know. Hopefully he sits back up. But I tell you what, Javon, man, that's getting to be. This kid's not progressing as much as I thought he would. I thought early in the season, and I don't know if it's where he's faced some tougher defenses and maybe his confidence is shook as a true freshman. But just simply dropping footballs is not going to get you any play.
Yeah, it's a good way to not get the ball thrown your way. But he is a freshman.
Yeah.
It's a long season, man. It is a long season.
Well, it's not as long now because we only have 4 games left, and we're kind of back to the point where October was a pretty brutal month, and now looking at Oklahoma State kicking kicking the shit out of Texas Tech Texas Christian yesterday, that Oklahoma State loss doesn't look as bad but it was a game that you should have won. But then again, here's a team that's undefeated and handed it.
Well, another thing though, we didn't get down yesterday. That
yes, key. That's key.
That's key, man. You can't spot them 15 points and expect to win. I was happy overall, but I think if we want to win out, which a lot of fans are talking about, what we saw yesterday isn't going to be good enough. We're going to have to play better. We're going to have to play better on offense, and we're going to have to get the quarterback. I mean, it's got to be more complete than it was yesterday. We missed a field goal. There was a bad punt. They scored. We stopped them twice in the red zone, didn't get any points out of that. Yeah. And I know the competition isn't what it was in October, but still, Texas has some pretty good players, and you're not just going to run the ball down their throat.
No, absolutely.
So our receivers are going to have to step up and make some plays, and we're going to have to get to the balance that Holgorsen was talking about, because the passing game yesterday was pretty bad.
It was atrocious.
I'm not sure. Let's look here. We only threw for 149 yards.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
He missed several open guys.
Yeah, he missed a few guys yesterday, and that's just what you get with
They had holes in the run game, though, that you could have drove a goddamn Mack truck through. I mean, Shell had the one run the left side in the second half, and you could have fit 2 UPS trucks through that hole side by side. It was so damn big. And the run game was on point yesterday. I don't know why we threw the ball yesterday. It really didn't make much sense to even attempt it, but I'm not coaching, and obviously I'm not as brilliant as Mr. Holgorsen. So,
well, listen, I just about cost myself a couple $grand yesterday because I must do a shoe through a television set yesterday at a friend of mine's house
on the 2nd and 7.
Oh my God,
driving. Yeah.
Well, first let's. Obviously we were moving the football yesterday, and Dana thought so too. So what we'll do is we'll listen to his comment from the game, and Greg, finally, somebody asked this guy a question, but as always, he's being a smug asshole about the response, kind of cuts Greg Hunter off. He asked him about throwing the ball late in the game, and he gives you some half-assed response. Let's listen to it real quick, and then we'll talk about it for a second.
Dana, when's the last time you pushed a team around like that offensively?
I don't know. I don't know. I think we've ran for 300 before, haven't we, Mike? So we ran for 300. We did a good job up front, but we've been building this team over the last couple of years to be able to do that. I mean, it's a far cry from what my background is and what the offense looked like when I first got here. It's the personnel that we have. So looks good, gets first downs. That's kind of what the point is.
Is it still hard for you sometimes to be a run-first guy? You threw the ball a few times late. It just things on.
I thought that was the right thing to do. It's got to look better. I mean, I've been the first one to say since August 1st that it's my job to get us in the pass game to the point where that can be effective. We wouldn't have won if we would have continued to try to do that. We wouldn't have won.
And obviously he responds there to the 2nd and 7 throwing the football, and his response was, I thought it was the right thing to do. The right thing to do. Who in the hell, what coach in America thinks when you're running, my fat ass yesterday could have ran for 100 yards. I tweeted that to Rasheed Marshall. Rasheed kind of questioned me, and I settled at 50. I could have ran for 50 yards yesterday in that game.
Rasheed would have run for about 400.
Yeah. And then we're throwing the football on 2nd and 7. Dana Holgorsen, get your head out of your ass. I've defended your ass for weeks on this show. Everybody on this show has gone nuts on you. And I think it was the competition. But that type of dumb shit will get you fired. I was ready to rent U-Haul trucks yesterday and drive my ass to Morgantown. Who in the hell throws the football on 2nd and 7 when they cannot stop your running backs? This dumbass just about cost us the game because it was 3rd and long, and luckily we were able to get the first down. We punt the ball back to them. If they get down the field and score, it's over.
We would have been in field goal range. We were down.
Is that
what's that mean?
Is that a field goal with Chippy?
Yeah.
We want to talk wide right?
Yeah.
So
I agree with you. He should not have thrown the ball.
run the football.
Yeah.
Russell Shell yesterday looked like the Russell Shell that we've kind of been waiting for.
He looked like the Russell Shell that played the same way against Texas Tech, who has an awful run defense. Let's not hype him up.
I'm not hyping him up. I'm just saying he
looked
ran
good
the ball.
yesterday.
They both
he was
ran
hitting
the
the
ball.
hole. Smallwood.
I mean, you
was
can't
too.
take it away from the guy. It doesn't matter. They ran the ball well yesterday. It looked like Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton out there running, and then you fucking throw the ball on 2nd and 7.
He's a genius coach, man.
My big takeaway from yesterday, though, is if we want to win this league, we got to run the ball and play defense. Football hasn't changed. I think this air raid system is a little overrated, personally. I mean, it's time to get back. And if this year is the year Holgorsen figures out that you have to run the ball, sustain the run, and play defense, then that might make him a better coach. I just don't. I mean, did you watch Texas Tech yesterday?
Yeah.
Just flinging the ball everywhere. I mean,
Well, they knew they could run.
I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be the team that throws the ball and beats people 65-61.
But can you trust him to change his ways, because he is a total air raid guy, and I don't see him switching up his style.
Well, you heard what he said. I've kind of over the last couple. It's not what I'm known to do, and I've kind of changed it around. I've kind of built it to this point where we can actually run the football. Well, that's a little questionable, but I see the effort where they are trying to get more run, and you have to run the football. Listen, everyone laughed at Don Nehlen, but if you don't run the football and play defense, you don't win.
What was Alabama doing last night? Running the ball and playing
Alabama
defense.
runs the football all the time.
Yeah,
Alabama's got a beast.
football
at
hasn't
back.
changed. These Cliff Kingsbury, Dana Holgorsen, Gundy,
a hot
Mike
commodity.
Leach, they're not smarter than everybody else, okay? I mean, you might sneak up on people and beat them, but the only way you win football, sustain winning football, is controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And we chewed up clock yesterday. I mean, think if we could have
until we threw the ball in 2nd and 7.
but you see what I'm saying? I mean, we dictated style, and that threw their offense, which is a really good offense if you look at their numbers. I mean, they put up a lot of points.
But are they? I mean, what did you notice? Some of the shit that they ran, they would roll the whole team to the right, and then turn around and try to throw the
That
ball.
screen.
Some of that stuff works, though.
It looked like
That
that
screen, though, that screen, the first couple of times he ran that screen where he would boot out and then the back would just kind of slide, that screen actually worked really well, and you could see that play kind of develop.
Well, there was times they would fire it all the way, not
the
underneath.
screen. Yeah, you're talking
They would throw it
downfield.
all the way back to the other side of the field.
They're an awkward offense.
Sandlot. And
I don't.
shit doesn't work.
I don't
obviously.
understand a lot of this shit. We're running we put Crest in at receiver, and we're running that little flip out to him, and then trying to get it downfield. That's yet to work. I'm not a huge fan of that, but like I said, I think the run game looked good yesterday. Smallwood's toting the mail like he always does. Shell showed up and played. I just don't understand why yesterday he feels the need to throw the ball at all, because you were getting whatever you wanted on the ground. I mean, I understand you have to mix it up, but like Crum said, we're not going to beat teams throwing the ball, because he's incapable of moving the ball like that. He's just not. And again, not a knock on Howard. He's incapable of completing those passes. And when you can get the run game going, just ground and pound, man.
Well, and listen, and I will tip my hat to Skylar Howard on this one. He played tough yesterday.
He never gives up.
I mean, he ran
fighter,
hard.
man.
He
gets
didn't
out.
Plays
want
his
to.
ass off, man.
Yeah. So I mean, he is what he is. That's why I'm just not on the. I'm not on the wagon of just harping on his passing. He's not a great passer. If you talk to him, he'd probably tell you, yeah, not a great passer.
Well, it's not necessarily harping on his passing. It's just that's a part of the game that we don't have the luxury of having, and you have to work around that. And I don't think Holgorsen is going to do that. He's going to continue to try to throw the ball. And what happens is you get a team that has a better defense, and then yesterday some of those passes that he's throwing that are a little wild or whatever, and they're tipped, those against a better team are going to be turnovers. And then you put yourself in a situation where you're going to be playing from behind. And I just think Holgorsen's always trying to be smarter than the game, it feels like. He's always trying to do something that's more. He doesn't just look, man, football's X's and O's is simple. If you can run the ball, run the ball. Stop trying to throw the fucking ball. If they're going to give you the run, take the run all day and make them stop you and make them force you to throw. Don't throw when you're running. Don't try to. He outsmarts himself too much, and it's very, very frustrating to watch.
And even on that 2nd and 7, I wondered, and I've caught a lot of shit because people are like, well, that was a check down. Well, it still goes back to Holgorsen and the points that you've brought up in the past. When you're out there and you trot your offense on the field, basically you just look at him and say, we're running the football. I don't care if they put all 11 guys in the box. Unless you see me signal to you the audible, we're running it. If you got too many guys stacked left, change the play and run the ball right. But do not audible out of my run call and throw the football on 2nd down and 7. That goes back to Dana. If Skylar Howard checked it, it's his fault, but it's definitely Dana Holgorsen's fault for not telling him going onto the football field, we're running the football.
Okay, we've been critical of Holgorsen. I think there were some things that you could be critical of, but he did rally this team. I think they've been left for dead. Everyone here, there's so much chatter about firing him and all that, and people are negative, morale's down, but they came in, put in a good game plan, and won.
Yes.
So I think it's week to week. Let's see how we do next week.
And it goes back
we
to what
can
I
beat
said.
Texas. Texas is not very good,
right?
But they still have a lot of talent. So we're going to have to go out there and work our asses off to get a win.
I don't know if you can look at any team in the Big 12 and say it's a patsy game. Because I think,
besides Kansas.
We thought that 2 years ago when we went to Kansas and
We were terrible.
Old Charlie walked off the field with a W. Maybe one of the, I don't know how many he got at Kansas. I know it wasn't many. But I don't think you can look at any team as a pushover. Texas isn't very good, but at the same time, Texas beat Oklahoma. Texas is going to come to town. They're going to be ready to play. And I just like to see them just take what they're giving you. And, when push comes to shove, if you have to throw the ball, throw the ball. But take what they're giving you and just – they're going to let you run it like that and get 2 backs going like that. Just keep running because his clock management is still pretty poor.
Well, yeah. I thought so, and I still couldn't figure out why. I really think he gets $10,000 per timeout. Like the guy at the end of the first half, why did we spike the ball to kick a field goal?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't understand. Like they did the hurry up, spiked it, and then had to rush the kick unit out. And I was like, just call the timeout.
Yeah, he holds on to those things like they're the golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
He must get a case of Red Bull shipped in for timeout.
He's got something going on. But all in all, yesterday was, I was watching the game. Obviously, I wasn't at the stadium, as Crumbs pointed out to you guys a couple of times. So I was watching on TV. And do you kind of feel like I was sitting there yesterday, and the people I was watching with, I was like, I kind of feel like I'm just sitting here waiting for this to go bad.
Yes,
like you're never comfortable. Like we're driving the ball downfield towards the end of the game, and I was like, we're going to mismanage this clock. They're going to get it back, and they're going to score. I was like, we're going to be in a fight here at the end. And I don't know why I feel that way. I think a lot of it has to do with the way he coaches, but it's like you're just. Do you guys find yourself? You're just kind of sitting and waiting. You're waiting for something to happen.
We would score, and nobody would get up and high five.
Yeah,
they would score. There'd be no reaction. It's just like you're kind of waiting to the last 2 minutes of the game to really figure out where you're going to be. Because this thing could go to hell at halftime.
Yeah, and
I think that goes back to me saying that a lot of people have given up on this team and this staff, and they're all they have left. So I think beating Texas Tech is good, but if we beat Texas, I think people are going to come back around and say, like you referenced the 94 season where we started poorly and finished well.
Yeah, and
it could be one of those seasons.
You really, as a coach, I really hope they went in and said, hey, we're going to draw the line in the sand here. This is the start of a new season.
Yeah. We
can still reach our expectations because realistically, he knows. You can listen to him in his press conferences. Getting his ass throttled by TCU and Baylor, it's not a big deal. It doesn't feel like he's like, he's just like, we played a good team and da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, he pretty much gave the same press conference for 4 straight weeks in October.
Yeah.
That's fine. Look, he is what he is, man. I really, to be honest, I don't even really like to listen to him talk because all he does is piss me off because he's just so nonchalant about everything. I don't feel like he's a great motivator, but Hey, man, they went out. They got it done yesterday. Hats off to them. The defense, like you guys said, played great. Worley comes back. Worley gets a pick. He's back in the game.
Worley played well yesterday.
Yeah, Ricky Rump's back to playing well. Harper gets some tackles for loss. I like seeing that. He's stepping into Carl's place. Kwiatkowski doing what he always does. I think the D played. I think the D played great. That penalty was.
What's he doing?
I don't know. It looked like he was trying to rip the football from him as he's going down, but it was obviously the dude was already down and had been down. He's in the process of getting up, and he tries to rip the football. I'm not really sure what that was, but the D played really well. Special teams is looking good. I like they're not trying to run kickoffs 8 yards out of the end zone. They look like they've smartened up there.
Actually, the kick return game yesterday put us in a great position yesterday to get those 3 points, which ended up to be critical there at the end of the first half.
Field position.
Was that Durant that took it down?
For once.
And KJ Dillon had some good punt returns too.
But for once, we actually managed the clock and moved the ball and got some. That was positive. That was huge, I think, for the tempo of the game, for the rest of the game. And obviously it ended up being a decision maker towards the end of the game because you subtract that 3. And it's a whole different game there at the end.
And then offensively, you look at it, you got Smallwood with 167, Shell with 112. But like Crum said, Kevin White's brother, dude.
How strong are his dreadlocks?
Well, here's one thing I noticed about him, and I was
almost down to the numbers.
Yeah, he's got some locks going. They're flowing there. That's for sure.
He's big and physical, and I noticed yesterday there was one pass where the guy he tried to jump the route.
That was almost a pick six.
And
White just took it.
White kind of pretty much he used his body, shielded the pass, and then it was a little bit of a scrum. Had that been a smaller wide receiver, probably could have got taken from him, but he just used his body and muscled him.
Yeah, he bodied that guy and took that ball. I think that kid's going to be pretty solid. Yeah. I like him at wide receiver.
It's tough for junior college kids to come in and immediately. It's not that the talent's not there. There's obviously things like rhythm and learning the system. Yeah. And if he can continue to grow for the rest of this year, and he's going to get some balls.
It's not how you start; it's how you finish. Yeah, and I think this kid's looking like he's going to finish up pretty strong. I mean, he led the team yesterday in receiving. He had the 5 catches for 80 yards, and that one you were talking about. I mean, he bodied that guy and he took the ball, and that's what you need. I think that could come into play maybe in the red zone, because if you have a guy like that who's physical and going to body somebody and you high point him and he's a big dude, you can use him just like they used Kevin last year. Yeah. And
I'll look for that.
Kevin last year was a big deal for Howard because Howard had that trust to just put it up and he trusted him to go get it.
Yeah, and you got to figure he will work out in the offseason with his older brother who's a pro. Yeah. He's only going to get better.
And they say that the other brother is coming here. He's on the defensive side of the ball, and they say he's the most talented of the family.
He's the best one.
That could be scary because Kevin was a freak, and his brother Karan looks like he has the makings of another Kevin at wideout. And I think if you can get Howard a receiver like that who's big and physical, I think you can see him come along. And like I said, it's not.
Well, he will complement the speed guys.
Yes, very well. Yeah, I think you put him on the outside. You put Gibson on the other side out wide, and then you can intermix your slot receivers with Shorts, Thompson, Durant, Jennings. There's a pretty good mix at receiver that you can use. And if we're going to continue to throw the ball, I'd like to see Kevin White's little brother get more of it because he's impressive. He's impressive.
Well, and one thing too that we brought up last week, and you didn't see it yesterday because the key is we weren't playing from behind. Is how many long balls did you just fire down the field?
Yeah, not a lot.
Because you weren't playing from behind. You don't have to play Xbox football. You can play real football. You can run the football, move the chains, because you're not playing from behind. You get down 17, and all of a sudden, you're just trying to fire it down the field and get quick scores. And, you hope and pray that one of these kids hangs on to it and takes it in. So it made a difference yesterday coming out and scoring and using the offense the way it's designed, because realistically, it's a hell of an offense. If you can run the football and not have to play Xbox football, they can throw. If he makes the throws, they move the football.
Line blocked well yesterday, and that's kind of I didn't get a look at all the starters. I think they've intermixed the line. They've got some people hurt. I think they intermixed it. That combination seemed to work well yesterday. But again, I guess you'll find out next week against Texas. They got a little stronger defense than Texas Tech, but I mean, it was good to see that win yesterday. That feels like it gets you back on track, and it was good to see them finish the job and handle business. And you know, man, I mean, hopefully we went out and that's you know, I'm looking forward to getting back up to the stadium next week.
Well, as you probably heard, the timer went off there, and we're getting text messages from our next guest. So what we'll do is we'll take a quick break, but before we get into that, we'll announce this week's Dell Sparks Collection prediction winner. And my man, Michael Bayless, goes back-to-back on us.
Oh.
27.
Have a nice little man cave.
Steve, can you cue up Drake's back-to-back for me and just play that as we go into the break for Bayless here as he's hitting it back-to-back?
Yeah, 27-24 was his prediction. So Michael Bayless wins the Dell Sparks picture. We'll mail you.
Bayless, we're not going to mail this one to you, bro. Come and get it.
Yeah.
We're not going to mail it to you. You know where we're at.
Costing us
Come
money.
and get it. You got that state police car. You get free gas. You come pick it up.
Well, and before we break into the break, I'll remind you guys, too, swing by the Facebook page. If you'd like a Section 304 T-shirt, you can swing by the Facebook page, check out the shop. They're $16. $16 plus shipping.
Get
Great
it in
for
your
Christmas
pockets.
press.
Come off some of that money. Get you a shirt.
So swing by, get yourself a T-shirt.
Don't be a Grinch. Help us out.
And it supports our show. We appreciate it.
Maybe we need some stuff that we're going to go, take this show on the road. Why don't you help us out? Go buy a shirt. Stop it.
So we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by Terry Dixon.
TD.
Do you love West Virginia? Check out Home Furnishings by Bearwood Company. Log into bearwoodcompany.com and put West Virginia pride in your decorating design. The Bearwood Company, always home. For the best in vintage advertising signs, World War II collectibles, collectible vinyl records, and coins, check out our friends at Red Fox Antiques and Collectibles in Scott Depot, right off I-64, exit 40. This isn't your grandma's antique shop. This is a mantique shop. For more information, check them out on Facebook or give them a call, 304-757-9589. The Dell Sparks Collection. Dell has documented WVU sports for over 30 years and features the greatest moments in Mountaineer history. Check out his magic moments from Major Harris, Pat White, Tavon Austin, and so many more. For all of your favorite Mountaineer moments printed and framed, visit dellsparks.com or give him a call, 304-296-6004. The Griffith Law Center, PLLC, a Charleston-based law firm servicing the entire state of West Virginia and parts of southern Kentucky, specializing in serious injuries, wrongful death, and wrongful termination. The Griffith Law Center. Now you have a friend that's a lawyer. Call today for a free consultation at 304-345-8999 or give them a visit on the web at protectingwv.com. For all of your web and graphic design, go with the best. Go with our friends at Loggerhead Designs. They're true graphic professionals. Anything from business cards to high-end websites. They can handle it all. The next time you need your ads to really pop, head over to loggerheaddesigns.com or call 910-541-0143. And welcome back into the Section 304 podcast. And this week, before we get with our guest, our Bearwood Company Fan of the Week, Mr. Andy Richardson of Charleston. He sent in a nice photo of him and some of his friends enjoying the day at Mountaineer Field, which yesterday it was actually, yesterday was a shitty day for me to skip a game because it was nice.
Good big man friendly weather yesterday.
Because I don't do
chilly
rain.
though. If you were actually up there, it was more chilly
There
than
he
the
is
weather.
again. If you were actually up there, you fuckers.
It
you
was
fuckers
windy.
didn't make- it was so windy down in the valley. You assholes didn't make it. He just continues to drop little.
Well, I don't do
fucking
rain.
jabs.
I will tell you that now. I don't do rain, man. If there's rain in the
Man up,
forecast,
dude. Get a raincoat.
fuck all
What's wrong
that.
with you?
All right, well, joining us on the phone, Mr. Terry Dixon. What's happening, Terry?
Hey, what's up, Mountaineer Nation? How you guys doing?
We're doing all right, man. What's before we get into diving into too much of your time in Morgantown, catch us up, man. What's been going on with you? What's up with you these days?
Oh man, just taking care of the fam, man, raising these little kids of mine, and just enjoying the process of my kids playing sports, man. And it's funny how to see them, at such a young age, it grasp from the game and wanting to do everything that you used to do and things of that nature. So it's fun, man. Life is good, man. I can't complain.
Obviously, full disclosure for the listeners, Terry is good friends with my brother-in-law, and they have, my sister and David Upchurch have two children, Miles and Maurice. So I get to kind of live vicariously and get caught up. All their boys are around the same age, and that looks like a bit of a goof troop you guys got going on up there. I know Miles and Maurice pretty well, but I'm sure all the kids together tend to be a handful.
Oh, there's no doubt, man. We try to get the kids together often, man, and we took them to the Maryland game. I took mine to the Maryland game when WVU played here, I believe last year, when they won on the last second field goal, man, and that was just a great experience, man. It was a surreal moment, man, when you have your kids, at a Mountaineer game and their experience and everything that you experience, and it's a great feeling. They always talk about they want to go to West Virginia and attend school there, so it's a really good feeling, man. And
before I kick it around to the other guys, I'll share a story with you, and this kind of gets back to the Maryland thing. I believe it was last year. Shakira locked Miles out of the house. Apparently, the morning of the Maryland-West Virginia game, Miles starts cheering for Maryland. Or it may have been the year before, and she sent him outside and locked the door on him and left him outside. But talk about that a little bit. You're over there in Maryland, in the D.C. area. Talk about WVU football, and when it comes Maryland week, what's that mean for you, the D.C. guys, when it becomes Maryland week, leading into that? Especially, I'm sure the kids probably feel like they should cheer for Maryland, but knowing that their parents went to WVU.
Oh man, I tell you what, that week is a big time week, man. Especially being here from DC, and Maryland is close. People call it the DMV, but it's guys from DC. That game is huge because growing up, Maryland wasn't that good, and I wanted to get as far away from home as possible, just to get away from the DC Maryland area. But when that game comes about, it's kind of bragging rights because I got a lot of friends that have played in the area that attended Maryland. So it's kind of a bragging rights thing, and you want to beat those guys, beat them up pretty well, and just to let them know that hey, this is what you let get out of the state, out of the city. So it's a big game. It's a real good game for us.
Hey, man, this is Matt. I was just wondering, you were a part of that team in the Music City Bowl. I'm a big Giants fan, so I would be remiss if I didn't ask you how that was. Eli was a freshman, and what was that like watching him go as a freshman? And I know that's not a Mountaineer question, but I just, where I'm a Giants fan, I'd just like to know what that was like to kind of watch him go as a freshman like that.
Oh, man, it's crazy because he was a freshman. I think he was a freshman that year, and we were beating them pretty bad, man. And they let Eli come in, and they started to come back a little bit, and everybody got scared, man. I was like, whoa, who is this kid? Usually as an offensive lineman, you sit down and you kind of get your breath a little bit. But when this kid came in and started bringing them back, I had to get up and see what I was watching, man. It's kind of funny because I tell my kids all the time, I played against Eli Manning, 2 times, I think he won Super Bowl MVP 2 times.
Yes, sir.
I believe. Yeah, man. Yeah. And it's crazy what he's developed into to now as a pro, man. But I tell my kids all the time I played against that guy, and it was a real good moment. I let them know that we beat him. Your dad beat Eli.
Hey, Terry, this is John. I was going to ask, kind of to segue off the Music City Bowl, what did that mean to you all, the senior guys, to send Coach Nealon out with a bowl win?
Oh, man, I always tell the old heads, man, we broke the streak, man. We broke the bowl game streak, man. I think before we won that Music City Bowl game, I think we lost. How many bowl games in a row did we lose?
I think 8.
Oh yeah, it's pretty up there, man. And when we broke the streak, and it was a really good feeling, man, to send Coach Nealon out as a winner. He deserves that. He's a legend, man. He's a Hall of Famer, man, and he deserved to go out on top as he did.
Talk about Coach Nealon, and when we get the guys on here that played for Coach Nealon, we always ask them to tell a story. What's one thing that really stands out about Coach Nealon, and do you have any funny stories to share about him?
I don't think we have enough time for all the funny stories about Coach Nealon, but in one in particular, we were in a team meeting, man, and he told a story about a rat being backed up in the corner, man. And he said, you know, when you get a rat backed up in the corner, and he just comes out fighting, and he just made that rat face, and that mean, the team room went. We tried to be serious because he was serious, but. People were holding their laughs. Everybody, I looked at Tanner Russell and Rick Gillum, and God rest his soul, and Rick Gillum. Their faces were cherry red, just trying not to laugh, man. And I just wanted. And another one. I don't know. I got all that. If you happen to go to the restroom, like if you had to take a pee, man, and go to the restroom, he would pull his pants to his knees and use the restroom. You trying to be straight, man. But he would pull his pants to his knees and use the restroom, man. You try to feel like you're not paying attention to it, but it was hard.
Like a little kid standing there with his pants around his knees.
Oh man, it was funny, man. That was Coach Hill is a great guy, man. And God forbid, don't play racquetball. I didn't get a chance to get in there with him, but I've seen some of the people coming out there sweating, getting whooped by Coach Miller playing racquetball, man.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
A lot of people don't realize underneath on the bottom level of the Puskar Center, when Coach Nealon, when they were building that, he had them put a racquetball center in there. It's now used for the media and the press as a photo room, but that was Coach Nealon's. That was Coach Nealon's racquetball room. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to beat people's behinds in racquetball. He didn't care how old or young you was. He went at you, man, 100%.
Man, in your time up there at WVU, what's the win that means the most to you? What's the one that stays with you? And when people ask you, what's the biggest win that you had in your career up there?
Oh man, I tell you what, the Rutgers game at Rutgers, Phil Braxton making that fourth down catch.
It was 4th and 18, or it was 4th and 18, I think.
Huh?
I believe it was like 4th and 18, but
yeah, it was fourth. I believe so, man. It was fourth down in a mile, and Phil Braxton saved that season, man. I don't think a lot of people realize that he made that catch, and we won that game, and got a chance to go to the Music City Bowl and sing Coach Nealon out, as I mentioned before, as a winner, man. But that Rutgers game was huge. That Rutgers game was huge to me.
Obviously, when you were up there, you got the block for some pretty special running backs, man. I mean, talk about the guys that you blocked for. You played with Avon Coburn. You played with Amos Zaraway. You played with Curtis Keaton. You were there with Curtis Keaton, I believe, right?
I got there after Kurt.
Okay.
I blocked for Amos. Not Amos. Amos was there when I first got there, and then Avon took over the reins, and Cooper Rigo and those guys, and Quincy Wilson, of course. I got a chance to block for Quincy and Avon, and I take great pride, in blocking for I think is Avon still the all-time Big East leading rusher?
Well, he's the all-time rusher at WVU, and I believe the Big East record still stands as well.
So.
But where they've dissolved the conference, I don't know if those records transferred over to the American Conference or not. But he's still the number one rusher all-time at WVU.
Oh, and that means a lot to an offensive lineman, man. That's good for I tell my friends all the time. I block for the all-time leading rusher in West Virginia history, and I think he's up there in Big East history, man. And I tell people all the time I played in the real Big East.
Hey Terry, this is John again. I always heard that Coach Nealon hated Pitt, and he had a little more pep in his step Pitt week. Could you kind of reminisce about that?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I always heard Coach Nealon hated Pitt and had a little more pep in his step during the Pitt week. Could you kind of reminisce and tell us about that?
Oh, man, everybody would get – Coach Nealon got a pretty intense, Pitt game. That's the backyard brawl, man, and that's a big rivalry game, and he would be really intense during those weeks, man, and we kind of dialed in a little bit more because we knew how passionate he was about beating Pitt. Not just beating him, but beating him bad, and that's what he wanted to do. So that was a big week for us. And I'm glad they're renewing that rivalry, right?
Yeah, that game's coming up in a couple of years, I believe, like 2017 or maybe is it 2021? I forgot. Yeah, it's coming out.
It's like 17's Virginia Tech.
Yeah, it's 6-7 years away, but at least it's back. And you talked about Eli Manning and playing against a great quarterback, but you also blocked for a great quarterback. Talk about Mark Bulger. A lot of people don't know much about Mark because Mark is pretty quiet and a stay to himself kind of guy. But talk about playing with Mark Bulger, who went on to be an All-Pro and a hell of a quarterback for the St. Louis Rams.
Oh man, it's an awesome feeling, man. I got a chance to see Mark when he played. He finished his career up in Baltimore with the Ravens, man. And my family and I live close here, so it was good to kind of see them. And a couple times they played the Redskins when he was with the Rams, man. I got a chance to kick it with him after the game, man. And he's just Mark, man. Hey, Dixon, he just give you that. He's real quiet, like you mentioned. He just talked to him and his dad, and his sisters. We talked after a couple of Rams games after they played the Redskins down here, man. And me and Mark, he's a good guy, man. We had some good conversations in the steam room at WVU after practice and just sit and talk about life, man. And it's good to see him have success in the league, man. He was in that class. I kind of see him all the time on that special with Tom Brady, but I think he materialized into a pretty good quarterback, and they always talk bad about the quarterback that went in the same round or before Tom Brady in that draft, but I always tell people Mark Bulger can put up numbers against anybody, man.
And that's what you mentioned that. And Mark was probably on pace to be a first-round draft pick until in that '99 season he got his knee rolled in the East Carolina game. Just kind of looking back at it and just the way you kind of presented it, probably a lot of teams probably made a mistake there letting him slip to the 6th round. He didn't even end up playing for the Saints, which is where he ended up being drafted. Yeah.
I think they let him go, and I know they missed out on that, but. One man's treasure is another man's treasure. So I'm sure the Rams are pretty happy that the Saints let him go, man. But he proved everybody wrong, man. And I'm happy for Mark, man. I'm happy about his success.
And one time, we chat a lot on Facebook, you and I. What you get to watch the current Mountaineers? What do you see that's different in Morgantown versus when you guys were there? Coach Nealon always really presented a blue collar type team. You guys would play against, and maybe you would lose a game to Miami, who was a really good Miami team, but it always seemed like you guys would definitely kind of kick the shit out of them a little bit, and they knew they were in Morgantown. Do you think these newer teams don't have that same attitude, or am I totally off base by kind of saying that?
Well, I never thought I would say this, but I'm an old school guy, man. I am a 2 tight end, fullback, running down his mouth, smash mouth type of, coach. I coach now, and I just like old school football, man, and ball control. I think the game is getting too fancy, too pretty, too soft. In my opinion, man. And it's hard to win in those big games. If you watch the Alabama LSU game last night, man. It was just smash mouth defensive football, control the ball, run the football, and that wins you championships, man. As you can see, Alabama and the success they've had and how they play old school football, in my opinion, man. I just think you just got to get back to that type of football and recruiting those type of, it starts in the trenches, man. You got to solidify with, I don't think our offensive and defensive lines are solidified as they should be. Just getting those big guys up there moving people off the football. You got to be able to do that. You got to be able to have a running game, and our running game is, it's not been as it should, and the quarterback play has been inconsistent. I don't know what's going up there with Skyler and Crest kid. I was rooting for Crest, because we attend the same church here in Baltimore. I know his family pretty well, man. I thought he was going to go up there and take control of that system up there, but I don't know if it's a cerebral thing with Crest. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's him and Dana butting heads as far as I don't know. But I just like to see more consistent play from the quarterback position as well as up front on with the big uppies, man. Of course, I'm biased. I want us to do well up there, and we can control the game.
And you talked about going to church with Willie Crest. Obviously, do you know or have any insight of what's happened there? Just because coming out of high school, it seemed like, even when they recruited him, he was the future at WVU, and it just seems like maybe, I don't know if he just hasn't caught on, or maybe the passing game is, what do you think might be holding him up there in Morgantown?
I really can't put my finger on him. Like I mentioned, I don't know if it's a cerebral thing. I don't know if he's picking up the playbook because, I mean, he passes the eye test, man. He passes the eye test. He's a big kid. He's a physical kid. I just don't know why he hasn't, touched the field as much as, as I think he should have. But I guess I'm not there every day. I know the coaches are there coaching him. They see a lot of things that I don't see. But as a fan, as I watch the quarterback play, is Skylar Howard. I mean, he's just not. He's not it for me, man. And I watched the bowl game last year. A lot of his throws was high. And he's too fidgety for me, man. He doesn't bring that calmness that you need, from the quarterback position. I'm speaking from an offensive lineman. You want to see your quarterback nice and calm and controlled. It's just too all over the place for me, too inconsistent. And with Kress, I don't know. I haven't seen him enough on the field. And the times that I do see him on the field, as far as just, he seems out of place, man. He doesn't have that wide receiver, body language that you need to have. He's just not having it. I don't see it. I don't know if it's just him not being on the field enough. I just need to see more of him. Just make a judgment with him, man. But I just like to see him more. I want to see him more.
I hear you.
Most of the time when he's on the field as a wideout, all they do is lateral to him, and then he fires the ball downfield. And the frustrating part for me is if you watch him get to throw the ball from that wide receiver position, his ball is so much better than Howard's. I mean, as far as, spiral and what you're looking at from a quarterback. And I'm just as frustrated as you, and these guys will tell you. I don't understand why he's not getting a chance. I mean, even if it's mop-up time, let the kid get out there and get under center and get some snaps, get some reps. And that's what's frustrating to me with Holgorsen is he doesn't even look like he's attempting to give anyone else a chance. It's almost like he's locked in with Howard, and it's like Howard has some pictures of him or something that he doesn't want released. You know what I mean? And he's just not.
Something, man. I like you mentioned, from when I sit here on my couch and watch this game, I just don't see it with Howard, man. And then, like you mentioned, when Chris gets in, he does have a much prettier football. And I watched this kid in high school, man. I watched his poise in high school. I watched him, and I knew that it would transfer over to the next level. I don't know if they're not coaching him up. I mean, I guess I don't know if that's the issue, man. You have to coach this kid up, man. You put him on the field because, as you can see, what you have is not getting it done.
Yeah,
it's not. We're 3-4. We're 11-20. I think conference record. Since Dane's been here, something has to happen, man. And I would like to see Chris get more time, man, and just so you can see what you have, because he's not getting it done what you do have right now.
I agree.
All right, man. Well, listen, Terry, thanks for joining us this week and coming on. It's always good to hear from you and talk to you, and keep my nephew straight, man.
Definitely, man. That's always, man. And I like what you're doing. Section 304, man. I appreciate you guys, man.
All right, brother. It was good catching up with you. And you going to be coming down anytime? You coming to any games?
I'm gonna try, man. I'm trying to get down. My son's season was over yesterday. They lost in the playoffs, so I got my Saturdays free until basketball season starts. So I got a couple weeks here and there. I'm gonna check the schedule out, see if I can get down, man.
All right, man. Well, as always, it's good to hear from you. Thanks for joining this week.
All right, now. All right, you guys take care.
All right. Well, listen. That was Terry Dixon joining us from the Maryland, D.C. area, and it's always good to hear from my man. He's a bit of a Terry. He does a little bit of stand-up comedy from time to time. So you never know what the hell these guys are going to get into once they.
That was great insight on Crest.
Yeah,
I didn't even.
I actually didn't put two and two together there, and it was good to hear him bring that up.
So you guys believe him because he goes to church with his family, but when I tell you that Crest should play, I get butchered. It's okay.
We didn't say. Okay. We didn't. Well, he said exactly what we said.
Things have changed in the last month.
He said exactly what we said.
Yeah.
He said he hasn't been at practice either.
Yeah, whatever. I want to hear these.
Well, don't get so ho-hum, man. Don't get so ho-hum. It's your time in the show.
Uh-oh.
Here we go, Diddy. Matt Duret's Diddy's beer of the week.
I mean, I feel like I've given it to the guy before, but I got to go Smallwood on this. It's my guy.
You drink that one today?
I mean, I guess I could drink it unless you want it. If
I'll
you
drink
want
it.
it, yeah, you can have it. I'm feeling a little under the weather, but I got to give it to Smallwood. The guy shows up again, totes the mail, looks phenomenal back there out of the backfield. You can also, I'm sure one of you guys will give it to another deserving.
You want to hand one out this week?
I was going to hand it out to the secondary.
There you go. That's what I was thinking.
I mean, they're banged up. You don't have Joseph. Chestnut was in street clothes. To come out there and hold them under 200 yards passing is pretty remarkable.
I think if I was going to hand out a beer of the week, I'm going to have to give it to Tony Gibson and the defensive unit as a whole. And the one thing, we haven't really got a lot of pressure. We got a lot of pressure yesterday. And that quarterback, he's a slippery son of a bitch, man. I tell you, if there was more of a statuesque type of quarterback back there, we probably would have had about 8 sacks yesterday.
We had 2 or 3, though.
Yeah, I mean, we got to him, but, man, he was just Houdini back there yesterday. Houdini. So, Smallwood's
my guy.
Gets the beer of the week. Well deserved, man. Listen, there hasn't been a ton of bright spots on that offense.
That guy's continuing to be one week after week after week.
Blue collar, man. Comes to work every Saturday.
Brings his lunch pail.
Yes, and that's what we need. We need more. If you guys are listening in Morgantown, and I think I've got a little bit of feedback that some of the guys are listening, man, just learn your history a little bit, man. Like Terry said, these guys back in the day, that's a blue-collar program. We're not a foo-foo, Mark Jacobs, Louis Vuitton, purse-carrying type of crowd, man.
Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, with his fucking his Ray-Bans. I wanted to knock those off his ugly face yesterday. I said, why does this prick have on sunglasses?
You think we were mad about extending Holgerson? They locked that guy in to a long-term deal after he went 7-0 2 years ago. They're locked into him for like a long time. He is terrible.
Their goal in Texas Tech every year is just to beat Iowa State and Kansas. They're happy with that.
Yeah.
So in Morgantown, this is a blue collar. Listen, and like I said before, back in the day, we may have lost games in Miami, but
Miami had been in a war.
Virginia, they knew where they had been. They knew it.
You can't expect some of these guys to have that mentality when your coach really doesn't have that mentality.
Well, and that's
he doesn't. He's not a blue collar guy himself. He's kind of a, for lack of a better word, he's a dipshit. I mean, he really is, and I think he continues to show in his weekly press conference he's a dipshit, and He skirts around everything. He admitted last week when they asked about him and Kingsbury living together, he never saw Kingsbury because Cliff went to bed early and got up early, and Dana stayed up late and pushed his limit on the alarm clock as much as he could to where he barely made it to work on time most of the time. He admits himself. I mean, he's not. I don't know, man. He just continues to piss me off, and I hope there's a separation at the end of the year. Maybe Miami will take him because I don't like him. I'm done with him.
I don't know if that's going to happen. But
He's
listen,
a prick.
Before we get into our predictions for the Texas game, and I'll remind you guys, November 21st, we're going to be having a Sugar Bowl Foundation event. We're going to do a little fundraiser for the kids out at the Davis Child Shelter. If you're in the Charleston area or want to make the trip, it's a great event. I've extended the invitation to a very, very, I'm hoping to get the feedback tomorrow. I'll put a little hint out there. The guy's a Hall of Famer. And we'll just leave it at that. I'll know something tomorrow if we're going to have a special, who our guest is going to be. But we do it at Buffalo Wild Wings at the Nitro Marketplace. It's going to be November 21st against Kansas. And come out, join us, enjoy the game. We have a silent auction. We do a raffle at halftime, raffle like 20 items off. Tons of autographed pictures and cool stuff. I think the guys here on the show are going to come out. And but we'll have some special guests there on Saturday, the 21st, and I hope to know tomorrow if I'll have a commitment from the gentleman that I've extended the invitation to. So, with that being said, before we get out of here, now here's one thing. Here's another thing. Talking about just dumb shit. Next week versus Texas, this is a true blue game. What did we wear yesterday?
True blue. All blue.
So what? We got to wear this shit again tomorrow, next week.
Hey, broke a 4-game losing streak in true blue. Step off, dude.
All right. But that's the kind of Listen, I like the uniform. I'm a uniform person.
I am too.
Oh, well, that's
And-
creepy. You're talking about not being Louis Vuitton people, and here you are studying gloves and cleats.
I'm going to say
no.
we have not worn the blue helmet, blue jersey, gold pant since Texas Tech in 2013.
Pisses me off.
Come on.
That's
your standard uniform.
That's the staple.
That's your standard. That's what you wear against the Liberties and
Again, you guys talk about the standard, and you forget who you're dealing with over on the sideline.
Yeah.
He's wearing black all the time.
I don't
He
have
never
a
even
problem with
wears
that.
There's a reason for that.
Huggy wears black.
There's a reason for that. They do that for reasons. So it's an identification.
DeForest
thing.
wears hat back.
Maybe we'll wear the throwback helmet.
The throwback helmet.
DeForest wears a pimp coat. Remember he was pimping hoes out at Oklahoma State?
DeForest has got issues.
All right. Well, we don't want to spend any more time on that. Let's get into Texas prediction time, boys. What do you guys think? Are you back? Are you back?
Yeah, I'm going to go. We'll go 24-17. Good guys. We'll go us. I'd like to see us run the ball again. Control time of possession. It's huge. I will be back in the stadium as I have committed myself to driving myself this week. I will not miss this game.
There's a much better view in the stadium.
He keeps it under 10 beers, drives himself to the game. I like it.
I'm gonna have to do it. You can count on me being there. But I think 24-17 we win. I think it'll be a pretty physical game, and it'll come down to, again, you're always kind of sitting on the edge of your seat with this team, but that's the reality and that's what it is. But let's get 2 in a row.
Gosh, I don't know. I think we're going to win. I would think it's going to be more like we saw yesterday as opposed to a shootout. Maybe 27-17 West Virginia. I think we're going to run the ball. We're going to try to run the ball, and we're going to play defense. I don't know a whole lot about Texas, to be
I watched
frank.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, that's kind of
that was a different thing, though.
Didn't they get blown out by Iowa State?
That's where it scared me, was I saw them against Oklahoma. But then I saw the Iowa State stuff, and then wasn't so concerned.
Yeah.
Are they getting better?
I haven't. I'm not going to lie to
I know
you.
they
I
have.
haven't really
We
watched them
complain
play
about
much.
our quarterback. I think their quarterback situation's worse.
He's
than
more
ours.
of an athlete, non-passing type. I like us next week. I think the defense comes back. I think Gibby gets them tuned up. Man, if we can get Chestnut back in there, that would be a big help. I like us next week, 31-21. I think it's going to be tight. We're going to be sitting, like you said, we're going to be sitting on the end of our couch, and we'll do something there at the end.
I'll be sitting on the edge of my bleacher.
Yeah, I'll be back in the stands too.
I'll have my little one with me next week.
Maybe I'll buy some kettle corn. Maybe I don't. And then Crum, you were up in the deal. You weren't up there for it, but you watched it. Tell me a little about Ahmad and the basketball team, bro.
Yes.
I think everyone needs to get excited about the basketball team. There are a couple issues. I think we're still developing who's going to play point. Carter and Tariq Phillip are going to share that. I think Carter's still adjusting to playing with the ball as opposed to off the ball. But this freshman we have is, you want to talk about eyeball tests like Terry mentioned about William Crest. This guy does not look like a freshman. He's a great passer. He flows in the offense. He doesn't look lost. And the passing I saw, granted we were playing Glenville, but where we would struggle to attack a 2-3 zone where we would just kind of work the ball around the perimeter, we kind of ran a triple post, and there was a lot of great passing. And we weren't relying on just hitting outside shots to beat a zone, because teams at the end of the year started really packing it in on us. The shooting looks much improved. And you guys aren't going to believe when I say this, but I would keep an eye on Nate Adrian. He's a different player this year.
I listened to the radio.
Yeah, he was hurt. I think he showed some stuff as a freshman. And you got to keep in mind, this is your second or third guy off the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of talent. Devin Williams is lean. He's not – everyone's talking about him losing weight. The team is in much better shape than they were last year. I think they weren't in bad shape last year, but I think they figured out – what they had to do to their bodies to be able to play this type of style the whole year. And they look great. The shooting, Daxter Miles shooting, he was kind of streaky last year. He looks a lot more smooth. And Phillip looks good on the point. The junior college guy's not ready yet. And then the other freshman's not ready. But
I listened to it on the radio. I had to work Friday night, and I was listening to it on the radio. And it sounded like Caridi was saying that this is a team that's going to try to get up and down more and kind of just, they're going to be ready to shoot. I guess they're going to play a more up-tempo offense, and they're ready to shoot. And he thinks the press is going to be huge. Obviously, the new hand check rules may affect that, but he said the defense was pretty solid. Dax was shooting lights out, and he said Ahmad was just.
Well, I don't know if it's a year into this new press, but there weren't the bonehead fouls. Last year, we would foul guys 80 feet from the basket. We moved our feet a lot better on defense. That was encouraging. And then you got to factor in the shot clock is only 30 seconds this year. Yeah. So if you harass a team and it takes them 7 or 8 seconds to get the ball and then another maybe 5 or 7 to get into their offense, there's 15 seconds left. And it's hard to get into rhythm offensively if you only have 15 seconds. So I'm encouraged. I think we're gonna have a good team.
I just, like I said, I just got to listen to it on the radio, but listening to it, it sounded like Dax was firing on all cylinders. And they said Ahmad was playing really well. And they said that Nate had a cyst in his wrist last year, and that was what was killing him. He had it removed. And it sounded like he played pretty well. And I'm excited for basketball. I don't want to wish football season away, but I think this basketball team could be special.
Basketball it helps me keeps me from jumping off the bridge in the wintertime.
Yeah.
I hate the winter. I wish I lived in Florida every year. Come this time of year, I just don't like the cold. But I guess it's encouraging to hear that that it just seems like this team is growing. It's not like where we just have 2 or 3 guys. You're hyping the 8th guy. Yeah, you're talking about you're
looking at probably 12 deep on this team, I think, and I think that's big because when you press the way that they pressed last year. And you're playing that up-tempo offense, I think having 12 guys in that depth is going to be huge because now you're looking at a situation where, like Kentucky last year was platoon playing. You can do that. I mean, we have that ability to do that, and I think this team's going to – I look for them to make some noise.
We can go big and small too.
Yeah.
And I don't want to oversell Ahmad, but he was the highest recruit we've gotten. He's in the Kevin Jones – Devin Ebanks caliber.
Butler, yes.
Well, Deshaun Butler wasn't that highly recruited. I mean, this guy, when you see this guy out there, you're like, this does not look like a freshman. This guy is going to be outstanding.
He started, correct?
He did start. The starting lineup was Carter on the point, Dax, Ahmad, Holton, and Devin Williams.
How'd Johnny Holton look?
He's just an energy guy, harassing people on defense, getting rebounds.
He kind of reminds me of Flowers.
He is a little bit like Flowers.
Like Flowers wasn't – you didn't expect him to score, but he played D and he got boards. I think that's the mold Holton's going to fit into with this team because you got so many shooters and so many players, and now you got Ahmad, and then there's Lamont West, I think is his name, the kid we got out of Georgia.
I don't think he's going to play a lot.
Is he going to redshirt or is he –
I don't think he's going to redshirt, but he'll play limited minutes. Holton hit a 3 from the corner. That was encouraging. The shooting was so much more improved than last year.
Yeah. Well, that's scary to think about because that's what really I thought held this team back last year was the shooting aspect. So if Hugs isn't a dumbass. No. Although there was those 2 down years, but you want to talk about recruiting, like football recruiting, basketball recruiting. Although it's easier to come out of it in basketball, he had a bad run there with some recruits, and it hurt him for 2 years, and now you're seeing it.
We're talking about blue-collar guys in football. Huggins is the ultimate blue-collar coach.
Yeah,
he wants a guy who just plays hard nonstop. And I think we have a team full of those guys, whereas the years we struggled, we had some guys that were selfish.
Soft.
And didn't play that hard.
This team, these guys play for each other. And I know
they're very unselfish.
Yeah, last year when I went to the tournament games and kind of got to see a little bit behind the scenes, you could tell that these guys were playing for each other, whereas when Terry Henderson and Aaron Harris were here, those guys kind of seemed to play for themselves. They were playing for the name on the back of the jersey, not the front, and these guys here are playing for the name on the front. And I think these guys legitimately like being around each other, and that goes a long way, man.
Well, you talk about just coaching contrast between Huggins and Holgerson. Hugs preaches what it is to be a West Virginian, a Mountaineer, that name on the front of your jersey, blue collar. He preaches that shit. And what I always appreciated about Hugs was when they were losing, you didn't get that smug bullshit in the press conferences. I'll never forget when he came out. He said, "Listen,
ripped him to shreds to lose."
Listen, he said straight up, "It's not working this year." He said, "I will fix
I'll
this."
fix it,
and
you
he
could
did.
tell losses ripped him apart.
And I think that's what we want to see out of Holgorsen. And he just kind of walks out like he doesn't give a shit. Like, oh well.
Well, I mean, it's all about winning, though. Hugs wins. I mean, we under Hugs. We had 2 bad years, but other than that, we've been in the tournament every year.
Well, I mean, they wanted to fire him. People were, same shit. Fire Hugs.
Fire Hugs. Come on.
Hugs could run for governor.
Yeah.
He could give Jim Justice a run for governor next year if he wanted to. But yeah.
I would get excited about this team. They have a tournament in Vegas. I think we could win that.
We should go. You could write that off.
I'd love to write that one off.
Hey, we're going to Vegas.
The game early in December against UVA is huge. They're going to be a top 5, maybe top 10 team.
MSG, baby. MSG.
Well, speaking of, the rest of our schedule is going to look like this for the listeners out there. We're going to finish out the football season. We're going to do a basketball special right around the time of the Virginia game, and we're lining up a really special guest for that show. So we'll have that announced here real soon. So you'll get one basketball show out of us before the New Year's. We're going to take a few weeks off and let our systems rest a little bit. Well, I don't know. I like to pound vodka around Christmas time, so I don't know if I'm a White Russian guy in the wintertime, man, so but we're going to take a couple weeks off, and then we'll kick it back up come January. We're going to do some basketball shows, and got a whole 2016 season coming for you guys. So if you downloaded the show on iTunes, thank you so much for doing that. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and we now have an Instagram account, which we got to make more shit for us to do, more social media stuff that we can't keep up with. But it's the way of the world. But once again, thank you guys for tuning in this week, and we'll see you guys in Morgantown this Saturday. Hopefully we get the win.
The producer for Section 304 is Steve Adams for SAA Productions. SAA Productions specializes in affordable, small-scale audio and video projects. Wanting to jump on the podcast bandwagon? Call 304-299-1234. That's 304-299-1234. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook and on Twitter.